how to learn web development, a guide for beginners. So throughout my journey of becoming a developer, I have gone through several tutorials and I've been reading a lot of materials. So what I did for you is to put everything together in one page on my website, and I'm gonna give you the link in the description below so that if you want to read the same material, you want to follow the same step that I've taken, you can have everything in one page. And that is the website right here. So I'm gonna leave the link in the description below so that you will find it easier to get to all those materials. Okay, so in this short presentation, I'm gonna take you through how I think you should learn web development, or at least how I have learned it myself. Alright, so programming is a very good career. It's top rated in these modern days, and you will definitely not go wrong if you choose it as a career. There are multiple development disciplines to pursue. One of the most common one is a web development or a web application development, okay, or being a web application developer. It is not only common but also one of the easiest routes to learn and grab a job with the help of web development frameworks. So in this video, I'll cover the steps to take when you want to learn to become a web developer. Like I said, these are the exact steps that I followed to develop my first web application in just 3 months, and I'm sure you can do it too. As discussed in the previous blog that I made on my website or on this YouTube channel, web development is divided into two main categories, the front end and the back end. In this video, we will learn to become full stack developer, meaning to become a developer for both the front end and back end. Learning front end development. This is where you learn how to build a website using hypertext markup languages, HTML, cascading style sheet, and JavaScript. We're also going to look at Bootstrap and jQuery and how to go about learning all those frameworks. It might be a good idea to have a web server installed on your machine so that when you're going through these tutorials, you'll be able to practice how to build websites, how to code them, how to use CSS, JavaScript, and HTML to put up a very good website, or at least to learn how to build a website. Okay, so that aside, we will look at front-end development. So the first technology you're going to learn is HTML, hypertext markup language. So this is the language that you will use to write whatever you want to display on your browser, at least at the basic level. So this is the language that you're going to use to write all those codes to put text on the web browser. Okay, so this will include tags like the paragraph tags, the italic tags. You're going to learn divs, you're going to learn span and stuff like that in HTML. So like I said, on the blog site, I already put together all these materials so that you can have one stop shop where you can get all these materials that you can use to learn your HTML. Okay, so the first website I will recommend is DoubleTree Schools. That is, if you like to read, you can go to DoubleTree Schools, and HTML section you'll be able to learn the basics of HTML up to advanced levels. Okay, there is also a very good video on YouTube here called EJ Media HTML for beginners, but I have the link to all these videos and websites on my website. So like I said, the link will be in the description below. So going to the DoubleTree School or going to the EJ Media HTML for beginner will give you a very good understanding of HTML and how to write this HTML codes. The next to learn will be CSS. This is where you will learn how to style text elements on the web browsers, like setting the font size, the colors, the positioning, etc. It is very important to be good at this because it is what makes a website look good. Assuming you have 8 hours to read and practice daily, a week or two should be enough to learn HTML and CSS. Okay, or you can take about a week to learn HTML and another week to learn CSS. You can go to DoubleTree Schools CSS to learn how to do this CSS stuff, and also the links to EJ Media CSS course or CSS for beginner, layout, grids, Flexbox and more on CSS are all linked on the website. Alright, so next on the list is JavaScript. So most people will tell you that HTML and CSS are not programming languages. So the first programming language you might encounter as a web developer might be JavaScript. JavaScript is used to make websites or web pages interactive. It is used both on the client side and also on the server side. Almost every website uses JavaScript. It is important to focus on just the basics for now, because JavaScript can be complicated at some point, but as you are learning JavaScript, just focus on the basics so that you'll be able to get your feet in the web development environment as fast as possible, and then you can now enhance your skills with advanced JavaScript stuffs, and then you can start getting into JavaScript for server-side scripting and so on. Then you will learn jQuery. jQuery is somehow outdated, but I think it will be a good idea to still go to jQuery and see how you can use jQuery to write just a few lines of code to do amazing things on your website. You can do almost the same with JavaScript, but JavaScript will require you to do a lot of codes before you can do those kind of stuff that jQuery can do with just 1 or 2 lines. So I would still recommend that you learn jQuery. This is where you do so much animations with just 1 or 2 lines of code, like creating tabs on the pages, or maybe you can create accordions. You can also create very cool rigid pop-up boxes. You can do all that with few lines, or in fact 1 or 2 lines of code using jQuery. Good. So after going through all that we've discussed, the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, it will be a good time to look at Bootstrap. So Bootstrap is usually what most developers will use to do an amazing website by just taking a predefined set of codes with a good styling, with a good, page design. You just use it and enhance the look and feel to suit your need. It is a very good front-end development or front-end developer framework. So you can't go wrong learning how to work with Bootstrap. Alright, so going through all that, will give you a very good understanding of being a front-end developer. Okay, so then we will now move to learning back-end development. This is where we can look into programming languages like Python, PHP, Ruby, Java, and so on. But in this example, we're going to assume that you're going to go with Python, so that I'll be able to guide you how to learn your back-end development. There are reasons why I choose Python as my first programming language. Yes, by the way, Python is the first programming language that I learned, and because it is easier to learn with an English-like syntax, it is used in different programming disciplines like web applications, desktop applications, AI, and machine learning. So it is a very dynamic language. You can use it in different applications, different work environments. Let's assume you choose Python as the backend language. So you will learn the concept of Python, the data types, list, dictionaries, variables, and stuff like that. This will give you a good understanding of Python, but usually you will not see any practical use of whatever you are learning, at least at the beginning stages of learning a programming language like Python. And during those time, it will be really boring. But be patient, everything will make sense in few days or few weeks time. After learning the concepts of Python, you can now take up the challenge to start building useful applications like file manipulation in the console, or a console app that can do file manipulation. You can read a file, write a file, zip a file, close the file, delete a file, and stuff like that. Okay, you can learn all that so that it will give you a very good understanding of how to do Python. There are a lot of good tutorials online. You can also go to DoubleTree Schools and take their Python tutorials. You can also search on YouTube. There are a ton of Python tutorials, and I also plan to do tutorials on Python so that I can help beginners as much as I can. Right after learning Python, we can now move into using web development framework to build websites or web application, and I recommend you use Django, maybe Flask, but I use Django when I was learning to do web development. Okay, and this is my path. The first programming or the first application that I built was a stock management system. In fact, yeah, a computer inventory management system. That is the fourth bullet point. I built a computer inventory management system for my office, the office that I was working for. So I would advise you to take up a real world challenge. Look around you, try to see what application you can build to help others that are in your area, in your organization. That will give you a very good real world experience, so that you would be able to put yourself up there, take the challenge, build an application that an organization can use. Okay, if you're not working, just look at any example online and try to build that application. So I also try to help you as much as possible. On my website, on appcoms.com, I have built 4 different applications, and I've shown you how to build all these applications from start to finish. You have a stock management system, you have invoice management system, you have a to-do app with a countdown timer, you have a computer inventory management system. Alright, so if you were to go through this application, I would advise you to start with to-do app, because it's the easiest and the fastest to learn. Okay, from there you can now take the computer inventory management system, then you can jump to the invoice management system, and finally the stock management system. But the basics are just the same. You will not go wrong taking any of them. But I think it will be much easier as a new web developer to go with the to-do app. Alright, so as a developer, whether you are a beginner or an advanced developer, you always find yourself running into trouble, okay? Running into errors, into your programs will stop running or they will fail to execute. And you might be writing your code and then maybe miss one thing or the other, and your program will break. Sometimes you will not know exactly why it is break or why it is breaking, so you will need to keep searching on the internet for solutions. Don't worry, it's very normal. So those errors is what makes you a better developer. If you have the error, be strong enough to make sure that you are able to find out the solution and fix it yourself. So if you still cannot fix it, in fact, there is a programming website or programmers helpers website called Stack Overflow, where you most likely or most certainly gonna find a solution to any single problem that you face in your programming career. If you don't see by searching, you can just go in there and ask questions. The community there is very, very responsive, and they will always respond to your question, and hopefully you'll be able to pick it up from there and then continue on your programming stuff, whatever you're building. Right after learning all of this, you're still not yet done. I would strongly advise you to teach it to others. This is what will make you a better developer, teaching it to others, because sometimes you might be able to build stuff. If you will find yourself, you will think that you understand what you're doing, but you will definitely feel that you don't understand it if you start, going over the codes and trying to explain it to somebody. So this will force you to, do more exercise, do more practice, paying attention to the codes that you're writing, and that will help you understand better how these codes work together. So teaching it to somebody will definitely help you in your programming career. So the best place to teach people is on YouTube. You can have your friends around if you prefer that, but I will advise you to open a YouTube channel, start teaching whatever you are learning. You don't have to be, a pro to start teaching on YouTube. In fact, I started teaching on YouTube right after I built my first application. That is right after learning programming. Within 3 months, I started opening a YouTube channel explaining how I went about building that application. So that's how this YouTube channel started. You can also start a blog site. If you don't want to go through YouTube route, you can start a blog site where you can explain your code, how it works, how you build a certain application from start to finish. Alright, so like I said, you can go to appcoms.com and pick up a programming challenge, work on it. So we're trying to put as many tutorials as possible to help you out there to become a better programmer. So I hope you enjoyed this video or you find it very informative. If you do, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you have not subscribed to the channel yet. I'll see you in another video.